Hey everybody, welcome back to the K2 and Online Paddle School. We are back here on YouTube, and this week we're looking at your elbow position influencing how well your body can rotate. There are many paddlers that have a difficulty in moving their body through rotation, moving their legs and their hips and their shoulders and their arms and being very fluid with all these ideas. With the kinetic chain, every part of the body that is connected by joint is going to follow the attaching joint. So when my ankle moves, that means my knee is going to move, and my hip is going to move, and my spine is going to move, and my shoulder is going to move, and my elbow is going to move, and my wrist is going to move, and so on, right? Every joint is going to be in this harmonious connection through the kinetic chain. And this week, we're looking at one of the major hiccups in people's inability to move. Sometimes it is hip tightness, sometimes it's not moving the legs correctly, sometimes it's a mastery of not moving your shoulders properly, but the major one that is very common and overlooked is your elbows position in relation to your shoulder. The shoulder's orientation is going to be dictated by where your elbows are at. So as I raise my elbows up, you can see my shoulders come up, and as I bring both my elbows higher than my shoulder, I start to stretch out, and you can see my shoulder orientation change tremendously from this position from here. And it is the relationship of the elbow and the shoulder that influences that. So I'm pointing that out because we typically look at hand position within the stroke in order to determine if your hand is too high or too low. But the tricky thing is your hand can move up and down without influencing your elbow's position. So we've talked about this in a previous video. Getting your hand higher while keeping your elbow low is as simple as doing this little waving motion here. But what we want to try to monitor is how much this elbow comes up this way and the negative effects on your rotation. It's very common to see paddlers flare their elbows up one way or the other. Whether the arm is straight this way, the elbow is higher than the shoulder. I can have my elbow bent, but my elbow is still going to be higher than my shoulder in this position. Ultimately, the lower your elbows are, the more rotational ability you will have, because your shoulder orientation being in this position allows for the connection to your lower body to be much more maximal. When these shoulders stretch upwards and we try to rotate, it is much more difficult because the muscles that are responsible for helping with this rotation are now stretched in this direction, and we need them going forward and back. I noticed this while giving a lesson where the paddlers are on land doing rotation, and when their elbows are down, they do it no problem. But when they take a paddle stroke, they go like this, and then their ability to turn was immediately blocked. Their leg position, hip position, shoulder position, all of that was okay, but the thing that was out of position was the elbow being too high. Having the elbow lower allows for you to swivel on this axis much more, versus when I lift this up, this stretches and my ability to turn is immediately hindered tremendously. Paddlers are trying to get an aggressive arm position with their top hand, and this arm is ultimately doing too much because I can keep my hand in the same position here and turn my shoulders, so you get the benefit of both. So being able to differentiate that the hand position and the elbow position are two different things allows us the opportunity to swivel this elbow a little bit lower into strokes and then use it to help with the rotational forces in the kinetic chain. So when we define low elbow position, what I'm typically looking for is the elbow and shoulder are about the same height. There is a wiggle room where your elbow could be slightly lower or slightly higher, and it won't impede the ability to move your shoulders. But there is some diminishing return of going too high that's no good for your rotation. But now if the elbow is too low, how you set up the stroke lacks a lot of leverage potential. So the elbow being around shoulder high is an excellent point that we're looking for. The cue that I like using is using your elbow to push back into your shoulder. So when the elbow is in this position in front of me, I have the ability to bring my elbow towards my body and do this. And you can see how much more I rotate by doing that motion. If my elbow drifts forward, my shoulder drifts forward, and you can see me unrotate. If I start the stroke unrotated, my potential for power is limited. But if I start with just a little bit more torque going into the motion, my potential for a powerful stroke has increased. So the legs are turning in the lower body doing the opposite. The hip is pushing into the knee, and at the top we want the elbow pushing into the shoulder here. And again, with the elbow position, I can have my elbow here, I can have my elbow there, and I can still turn pretty adequately, but if my elbow comes up too high, now it's much tougher to get that torque the same way, having the elbow in a very particular position. And this is a really easy one to practice on land. Do your rotation with your elbows low, and it's very simple and easy because all the joints are working together towards this idea. Now lift your elbows up a little bit higher, and you'll notice immediately having both arms up, your rotation is a little bit more hindered than being low with your elbows. Now try to have your arms overhead and straight, and trying to go through this motion is incredibly limited. And we work backwards from this point. If we take a stroke with this positioning here, our ability to turn is highly limited. We lock into it square, and the only thing we can do is drop our body weight onto the motion or use our biceps or do things that are inherently inefficient within a stroke. Identify the elbow position that is allowing you to rotate more and use that cue of pushing that elbow back towards the body to give you this very particular position. When you do it correctly, you'll feel yourself really coil up and turn into the stroke. And this is the motion that we're looking for each time that we go through these paddle strokes. Excellent. Thank you guys so much for checking out the video. If you need ongoing help working with a coach directly, check out the K2NOnlinePaddleSchool.com today. We have different tiers of our coaching program where I will write you up workouts. I will look at your paddling motion through video reviews and anything else that helps you stay motivated this paddle season. Combine that with the video library on the online school with drills, off the water exercise, on the water technique ideas, all of these things crescendo together to make sure that you're taking steps forward with your movement. A big shout out to all of our YouTube members, and their name is going to appear here. Becoming a YouTube member is $2.99 a month through YouTube here, and you get to watch these videos a little bit earlier. This video came out 3 or 4 weeks early on the normal schedule. It's only a small perk, but you get to help out this channel in a very big way. So thank you to all of our YouTube members. If you would like to come here to Hernando, or you want me to come to you and do a group clinic or anything of that nature, feel free to reach out anytime via the email link in the description. I coach full time, so I can make time during the week to paddle with you as much as you'd like, and then I am also available to travel around all over the world this year. Thank you all so much for checking out the video. If there are any topics that you would like to see discussed, feel free to leave a comment anytime. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you all next week for the next paddle tip video.